Hello and welcome to Chesapeake Weekly Home Edition. The Virginia Department of Health has made some updates and improvements to the online pre-registration system, and now you're asked to go in and check your information, update it, make sure everything's correct. The latest updates allow you to actually go in and see your information, so it's a great opportunity to make sure that everything is correct in there. So you can do that at vaccinate.virginia.gov. Or if you need any help, you can also call the state's vaccination information line, which is 877-VAX-IN-VA. Now, vaccine distribution is continuing this week here in Chesapeake, and the numbers are looking really good. So as of last week, the figures were about 18% of Chesapeake have received at least one dose of the vaccine. And that is above the state's average, which is 15% of people having received at least one dose of the vaccine. So slow and steady, we are getting there. Now, we're also continuing to ask you to mask up, to do that social distancing we've been doing all along, to continue all of those mitigation efforts. Now, we've gotten some questions about why we are continuing to say, even if you've had a vaccine, keep wearing that mask. And it's a fair question. So I went to our local expert, Dr. Nancy Welsh, the director of the Chesapeake Health Department, to find out why we should keep wearing a mask even if we've been vaccinated.
We're wearing the mask because we're still in the process of gathering data in terms of long-term effectiveness. Remember, this is an emergency use because it is effective and it had minimal side effects, so it was approved. But there is still long ongoing research because the kinds of questions that we don't yet know and are going to take time is, even though you're vaccinated, can you be infected and contagious, but minimal symptoms or no symptoms, but in so doing still perhaps spread it? And we don't have complete answers to that. So until we get complete answers to that, yes, we still need to take precautions. We're standing 6 feet apart. There are ways you can take precautions and still be safe. In my office, people come see me and they're accustomed to me scooting my chair back. So I'm 6 feet apart. When I have lunch meeting with folks, it's at a place where we sit 6 feet apart so that we can talk without a mask, and it feels a little bit more normal. But wearing the mask and having these 6 feet precautions is because we were able to get this vaccine safely before it would have the extensive several-year type research.
All right, switching gears here a little bit. Placer American, a South Norfolk employer, broke ground on an expansion project recently of its North American headquarters. Placer American constructs large, complex tamping machinery that helps build and repair railroad all across the country and throughout the world. The expansion is going to bring new jobs to our community and lots of good opportunities for Chesapeake.
I can tell you, we're excited about what Placer's doing here because at the end of this project, there are going to be 100 new jobs created right here in South Norfolk. One of the things that we enjoy about Placer the most is it's the type of company where when people come to work here, they never leave. They have employees working here today that were here in the 70s and in the 80s. So it's just a fantastic company supplying a quality product, not just for North America, but really for all over the world.
Well, first of all, for them to have settled here, now the information I got was 1970, which was my year of graduating from high school, so it takes me back quite a while just passing the street and looking over here and just seeing, not really always knowing what was going on here, but to see that here is a business that's not only survived, but is growing and thriving and doing some wonderful things. And this is not only great for our city, it's good for our Commonwealth, and it's good for our country because it's moving forward. And after this past year of the challenges we've had in the business community as well as government and every place else, it's nothing but great news.
Now, not far from Placer American in South Norfolk is another expanding business, and that's 4Kids. 4Kids is definitely growing, and not just in the way you might think. They're also growing green from their rooftop.
This is lemon balm that's going in, and it'll be used in the kitchen along with the fruits that come off this bush cherry. to feed the families that will be here at 4 Kids.
We are on the roof of the Landmark Center for Children and Families, which is currently under construction. And today we're installing our roof garden. So we're really excited about this urban forestry project we've got going with the Department of Forestry's Healthy Chesapeake, Chesapeake Master Gardeners. We got a whole team of volunteers up here, and we are planting a space where our kids are going to grow vegetables and be able to tend the soil and learn about gardening and nutrition and health. And then they're also just going to be able to have a quiet, peaceful, and really green place in which to stay.
This can be used in baking, or the idea is to give them options while they're here also, and kind of teach them about healthy eating. I retired from Chesapeake Public Schools, and I worked as a guidance counselor for many, many years. And several of the kids that I worked with received services here from 4 Kids.
We'll also have a new education center to be able to work with up to 120 children every night. So we are in what will be called the Landmark Center for Children and Families. We always wanted to have a roof garden in this project, and then we learned how expensive roof gardens are. They impact the structure of the building itself. There's just a lot of things you got to do when you start to put a lot of heavy planters up on the roof. We took it out of the project, and then as the campaign got stronger and we thought we'd be able to hit our fundraising goals, then we were able to add the roof garden back in. And we just think it's a really important for the community, for our families, that our families kind of have a quiet, private place to go. And we are so excited to be able to grow a lot of the fruits and vegetables and herbs that will actually be cooked in the kitchen downstairs. Project's running a little later than we hoped it would, but not too bad. Between COVID and all this rain, we have added a few more months onto the overall project schedule, but right now we're in the home stretch. We are hoping that our staff will move in the 3rd week of March and our families will move in April.
4 Kids serves families and children experiencing homelessness throughout the region. Lots of volunteer opportunities are available. You can find out all about those at 4kids.org. Now, anywhere it can rain, it can flood. And here in Chesapeake, because we are so low and flat, flooding is not at all uncommon. So flood insurance is a really, really great idea to have. In fact, lots of homeowners here in Chesapeake are required by their mortgage company to have flood insurance. But good news for all those people living in the floodplain, you're gonna get a discount on your flood insurance premiums, all thanks to the hard work of the folks in the Emergency Management Division here in Chesapeake.
So the Community Rating System, or what we call CRS, is a federally backed program. It involves the NFIP, which is the National Flood Insurance Program. And it's a program that the city has to apply to get into. There's a lot of criteria that you have to meet in order to be accepted into the program. And then once you're accepted in, what happens is individuals, homeowners that live within the floodplain can get a reduction on their flood insurance premium. The city joined back in 2014. We recently had what's called a verification visit. So we had individuals from ISO and from FEMA that come out. They look at all of our documentation, they look at all the work, all the activities that we do, and then they rate us based off of the work that we've been doing. All this is based off of documentation. We do a recertification every year to make sure that we stay in compliance with the program. And then this year we are very fortunate that we actually went from what was a Class 8 to now a Class 7. And the class ranges run from a Class 10 all the way to a Class 1. Now as a Class 7, we actually, homeowners that live within the floodplain can now get a 15% reduction on their flood insurance premium. Whereas before we were a Class 8, they were only getting a 10%. Doesn't matter where you live within the city of Chesapeake, we highly recommend that you look at getting flood insurance. If you live or build within the floodplain, you are required to purchase flood insurance unless you own your home outright. But we highly recommend, no matter where you live in the city, to look at getting flood insurance. you can get what's called a preferred risk policy. It's typically around $500 a year. It's very minimal, but it's just that added peace of mind.
Learn more about flood insurance, whether or not you're required to have it. It's a good thing to look into. And you can learn more simply by contacting your insurance agent or by visiting floodsmart.gov. Well, there was a positive rabies case reported here in Chesapeake in the area of Mount Pleasant Road between Fentress Airfield and Centerville Turnpike. Now, rabies is a deadly disease, most commonly transmitted through a bite from an infected animal. It is completely preventable if vaccine and treatment is given early and as recommended. So here are a few tips for you and your family and your pets on how to stay safe from rabies. Seek medical treatment immediately for any animal bite. Vaccinate your pets and keep them confined to your property. If your pet or livestock has been in contact with an animal that might be rabid, check for injuries and then contact Chesapeake Animal Control at 382-8080. And finally, never approach wild animals. If you think a wild animal needs help, you can contact the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries or a wildlife rehabilitator for guidance. The CEIC's Environmental Awards Program is an annual recognition of people who are doing great things for the environment right here in Chesapeake. It celebrates individuals, groups, organizations who've done great projects for beautification or litter control, really just keeping Chesapeake a clean and green place to live. Now, the awards program is open again. So if you know of someone who is deserving of such an award, we do hope that you will submit that nomination. You can nominate individuals or groups for awards in the following categories: business and industry, community and communications, community organization for both adults and youths, educational institutions, government agencies, and innovation in recycling, reusing, or repurposing. Find the nomination form at cityofchesapeake.net/CEIC and be sure to get that nomination in by the deadline of March 31st. And believe it or not, it's that time again, time to spring forward. Daylight saving time starts at 2 a.m. this Sunday, March 14th. And you know, I was wondering, why 2 a.m.? I had to look that up because 2 a.m. seemed like a very random hour, but there is actually purpose to it. So it's considered late enough to where it won't affect people who are out and about. Most people are home, likely sleeping. I know I'll be sleeping. And not so early in the morning that it could affect people who are getting up for church or work or school. So it's kind of that middle ground. And it's also not a time that would either push us back or push us forward into the previous day or the next day or however that time warp happens. So remember, it's also always a good time to check your smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms. Make sure that they're working, press that test button and make sure they're super loud and still functioning well. And you know, while you're at it, why not review your family's emergency plan? Make sure everybody's on the same page as we head into severe weather season. Well, that does it for this edition of Chesapeake Weekly. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay healthy, and I'll see you right back here again next week.
Hi, I'm Hannah Storm. I was born with a significant facial birthmark. I know what it's like to grow up in a world that looks at you very differently. Fortunately, I had access to care, but every day many children courageously face the world with physical imperfections and deformities. Some are born with these, others get them from disease or injury. Sadly, many assume they have no choice but to tolerate them, but it doesn't have to be that way. There are medical procedures that can help these children regardless of their ability to pay. Together with the Caring for Kids program from the Plastic Surgery Foundation and the Hannah Storm Foundation, there is hope. With your help, we can give these children a new outlook on life. I know, I was one of them. Help a child in need at thepsf.org/kids.